Okay. I'm just gonna hope that nothing strange will happen again. This crap pissed me off. Okay. Well, let's just get the obvious things out of the way. My computer decided to not work. So that's why I had to cancel the first stream. And it's already late because I woke up too late. I'm actually having breakfast right now as we do this. So it's pretty messy start. But I'm gonna try and get this finished. I'm trying to get something out of this. So this is the second episode of the thing. I don't actually have a name for this podcast still. That's the thing. I don't plan out crap. I mean, I planned out more than I did before, but like, I didn't plan this out too well, so I don't have a name for this thing yet. So what I'm thinking about doing is doing a Google form sometime, just having the viewers come up with a name. But I don't know. Probably just close out of Google Drive, actually. Alright. So I apologize for the messy introduction. It's really sorry. It's partly my fault, partly the computer's fault. But now it seems to be working fine, I think. So we'll just go with it. And the breakfast of choice for today is it's a rushed episode, so I'm doing something rushed. I'm just doing toast. Just 2 toast slices, just 1 butter, 1 jam. That's how I usually do it. Simple, but it works. However, there's a problem though. The bottle of jam we have is kind of nasty. Like, it tastes fine. Like, it gets a lot of juice everywhere, and it's like, I'm not a fan of that. But that's how it is. So I just live with it. So, okay. I'll just is anyone even watching right now? Who's on right now? Oh, nobody. Besides me. Isn't that just wonderful? And now I can't move the thing back up. Okay. Alright, post. Shit. Whatever. Okay. Topic. Arcade ports. We all know about the classic arcade games. There's nothing really to cover there. But what about the home transitions? That's what I want. That's what I'm mostly interested in, because every console is different. Like, every console has like a different specs, different graphics, sound, different storage, different capabilities. Different game libraries. Different priorities, I guess. But it's always fascinated me, just because, seeing the same game being done on different systems and how different some of them are, and how good or bad they could be. But I don't want to cover those just because I just thought it was an interesting subject, and I want to try to compare these ports. I have a list of them I actually want to cover. I made a list, so that's something I at least did before. We're going to go in order of the systems I have listed. I think these aren't release order, I don't think, but just like, it might be, I don't know. Actually, no, it's not, because the Atari 8-bit was 79. Never mind. It doesn't matter, let's just go in whatever order. So we're just going to be covering a bunch of these. So, first up is the humble yet beautiful Atari 2600. I don't know. You can tell I'm still tired. But the Atari 2600 was the first really major game system, and also just, I think, the first good one, honestly. It's just, it had, like, actual color compared to a lot of systems beforehand, which didn't even have color. Hold on a second. I don't know if that sneeze was actually captured or not on there. I hope it wasn't. It probably was, because bad things always happen to me. Sorry. But yeah, it had color, had, better graphics, actual, graphics that looked like something, even if it wasn't, like, very detailed. It had much better sound, and, like, even, like, the Pong consoles would use, like, just, like, an onboard speaker, and, like, just, I don't even know if you can call it a sound chip. I don't even know what the Pong consoles use. Probably just like a beeper, I guess. But yeah, the Atari was a nice little system. And there's some versions of games I want to cover. I won't show footage of any of these, I don't think, because I'm too lazy, and also just take way too much time. But if you do want to find these games, I'll put links to them in the description afterwards. So if you want to find these games yourself, I'll do that just to make things easier for you. So first up, on the Atari 2600, Asteroids. This is an Atari developed game, and it's interesting because it does not use the vector graphics like the arcade game. It uses sprites because the Atari itself used sprites and not vector graphics. But I think it's a nice conversion. Some people, I think, aren't that big of a fan of it, but I think it's a solid effort for the Atari. A similar issue happened with Battlezone, because Battlezone was also a vector game, and also used that weird whatever it's called, those binocular thingies or whatever. Not binoculars, but just like the little thing you put your eyes in and you can see the game. I saw it when I was like helping go, so it was cool. Anyways, I'm sniffly today. I think that this game is one of the best looking games on the Atari, or one of the best, just because of how, well, it's very colorful, and it pulls off the 3D perspective pretty well, I think. And it's a fun game, too. But yeah, I think they did a good job, not replicating the arcade game, but, like, creating the same feel of it, I guess. Like, just doing a different interpretation of it. And Dig Dug, the next one up, has always been one of my favorites. And I think that the 2600 port is one of the best of any system. It has the music, it has all the enemies, all the different vegetables, I think. It's, it has the gameplay, everything about it is just, it is as good as the 2600 could do. And it's just, I think it's really well done, and one of my favorite games on the system, even though I don't own it. And that's one that definitely is well deserving of like a best arcade port title. But Donkey Kong is a different story. That is a game that is infamously not very good on the system. If you don't know, this version has the Gingerbread Man Donkey Kong, which is funny and epic. And yeah, it's horrible, really. The game itself has only 2 stages, same with its, cousin Donkey Kong Jr., and I think that one's actually worse because the sounds are much worse, the controls are much worse, the graphics are much worse. It's still missing a stage. It has 3 this time, but it's still missing one of the stages. And it's just, there's no fruit. One of the important elements of the game is missing. There's no fruit. So both of those games, not recommended. Okay, next up we have a homebrew game. This is Galaga. I talked about this in my Galaga video, but this is a truly amazing homebrew. It It has all the important features of Galaga, and it just runs surprisingly well for the 2600. It just, it's really impressive, so you should check it out. We'll put a link to that in the description as well, to the Atari Age thread. It's really something amazing. And speaking of amazing games, Gyrus is surprisingly really good on the Atari. Gyrus is super fun on the Atari, and it even has music, which I think is insane. But it does have music, and it's like a whole song too. It's not like a little loop. It's like a full minute, I think, of music, or 2 minutes or something, a minute and a half. That I think is impressive. Joust was never one of my favorites. I like Joust, but it's not something I really play a whole lot. But I think the 2600 port is faithful. I actually don't know if I've ever played it too much, but it's seems fun. The physics seem alright, so not much to say there. Junior Pac-Man. This one's interesting because it's one of the very few console ports of Junior Pac-Man, besides like the homebrew 7800 port and like the Commodore and DOS ones, but those don't really count. So yeah, it was cool just to see Junior Pac-Man at all on a home game system. I'm not really a big fan of Junior. I kind of don't like it, but if you do like it, then I'd say find the Atari version. It's pretty cool. Now, Jungle Hunt is a game I do enjoy, and this one's really cool for the fact that it has parallax scrolling in a Atari game. So that's what makes it interesting, and it has all 4 stages as well. So, very accurate port, I think. And speaking of accurate, we have Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man's a very accurate port, I think, for the limitations of the system. Very good speed, has all the fruit, It's just, well, I mean, the game, it's Pac-Man. What do you say about it? But like, it feels right. The music sounds fine. There's no cutscenes, but like, that's not a big deal. You can, take or leave those. Pac-Man. This one, I've tried to defend the Atari version of Pac-Man for so long, but now I can't stand to do it. It is as bad as people say. It's really not good. I could go on. The graphics are just ugly. The sound is just horrible. The game is like, the game just plays strangely. The ghosts always get stuck in like the same places, or like they'll like not even try to follow you sometimes. The actual layout of the maze is just like a bunch of circles, so it's just like it's easy to get stuck a lot of the time. And it's not well made, and it was clearly rushed, and it's just, yeah, it's not good. There's a reason why everyone hates it. But the next one up, Space Invaders, I think this is maybe controversial, but I think Space Invaders is the best on the Atari. Like, the best version of Space Invaders just ever is the Atari version, because it has so many different options. You get the invisible invaders, you get the moving shields, you get the bullets, I think, that move with your ship. You get all kinds of different game modes. And, the base game plays just like Space Invaders, so the fact that they were able to just recreate that, and also throw in a bunch of extra stuff, is just awesome. I think it's impressive that they had so much content in there. So, that's my favorite version of Space Invaders. And the final one up for the Atari I listed is Zaxxon. Zaxxon is kind of bad on the Atari because they don't get the perspective right. I think there's been homebrews that fix that, but like this one's just like, it's like the game still plays the same, but just like it's just the perspective's all wrong. I don't know if that was intentional or just like they just couldn't figure out how to do isometric angles. I know Desert Falcon could pull it off, but I don't know. Maybe they just didn't know. I don't know, but that one's not really not really a big fan of that one. And now we switch gears to the VIC-20. VIC-20 is kind of like the Atari of computers in a way, because it's very limited compared to a lot of other ones. But it's still cool, still a nice little system, has some good games for it. The VIC-20 has I haven't played some of these games in a long time, but I think the Dig Dug on there is not as good as the Atari version, but it's like, you know, I think it's playable. And Donkey Kong on there is actually really strange because you can move in midair while you're jumping. You can like switch directions, which you cannot do in like I don't think any other version. So that's interesting. It plays actually quite good, and it looks fine and sounds fine too, and it has all 4 stages. You see, the NES can't even do that, and the VIC-20 has all 4 stages, and then NES has 3. What were they doing? What were they thinking? Galaxian, I think, is the absolute best on the VIC-20. I think that just the speed of your ship really improves that game. Because I'm not really a big fan of Galaxian, but when moving super fast, like in the VIC-20 version, it's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. Miss Pac-Man is one that always impressed me on the system because of how, just the fact that they actually managed to pull off the graphics surprisingly well with the limited capabilities. And, you know, it doesn't look the prettiest, but, you know, it does look like Miss Pac-Man. So, that's really all I can ask for. But Cubert is, a bit of a mistake. A bit of a, you should not be doing this. Cubert is like the video game example of, bro, you just posted cringe, you're going to lose subscriber. Cubert is not good. There are black spaces around all the characters. And just, the gameplay is choppy. And just, you know, I think those things alone explain why it's bad. So, I don't even want to touch that one. That one just, that's stinky. The Intellivision is a system I don't have a lot of experience with, but I did play a lot of Intellivision Lives once. That one I've played quite a bit. And there's some fun games on there, but you know, not my favorite system. Probably because there's not too many arcade games for it. First of all, there's not really a lot of ports on there, so I don't have too many to talk about. But there are some, so we'll talk about them. Donkey Kong is infamous on the Intellivision for being bad. I think arguably worse than the Atari version, just because it just, you know, I think the sound is much worse on there. That crap is just, it ain't good. Oh yeah, and the controls are just like, the jump is just like always stilted and just like, why did I say it like that? Stilted? The jump is stilted. It's like slow and just like, it's not fun. Pac-Man is very different on the Intellivision because it has like a, well, the screen layout is just interesting how they pull it off for that aspect ratio, but it works surprisingly well. I think it's actually a lot of fun on the Intellivision. And yeah, it's one of the better versions of Pac-Man. Maybe not better, but it's a serviceable version of Pac-Man. Pole Position, I actually have not played on the Intellivision, but it looks kind of like, it looks interesting compared to a lot of other Pole Position ports. It's not really like traditional Pole Position, it just kind of looks more like Pit Stop than Pole Position. But, yeah, that's all I can say about that one, I guess. Toast. I'm going through these fast, actually. Maybe we should talk more about them. The ColecoVision is next, which is actually a system I'm really pretty fond of. Well, maybe not fond of, but I do like the system. I think it has great specs for the time. You know, good graphics and sound. And some of the homebrews really show off its capabilities. There's a Gradius port, I think. There's a port of Gradius to the ColecoVision, and it's amazing. Just the fact that it actually runs. You know, I think that's awesome that they could do that. So, there's a lot of arcade games on here. There's more on here than I think on the Intellivision. Centipede, I think, is a great version of Centipede. I think the graphics are all like single color. Like, it plays really nicely. And like, it looks like the arcade game. Like, the sprites all look recognizable. Same with Defender. and Galaxian. These games are actually like really, really arcade accurate. That's the thing. Galaxian, I think, is like, I don't know if it has the music. I think it doesn't have the music. But Galaxian is like one of the best ports of Galaxian. Well, one of the most accurate ports. Not best, because it's still just like regular Galaxian. It's one of the most accurate ports of Galaxian to any home system. You know, it's really quite amazing. And the Pac-Man collection, a homebrew by who made that one? I can't remember the names of the people that made it. I'll think about it later. But yeah, Pac-Man collection is you know, it has Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man together, and the sound is well, I think the music is a bit off key, but it still sounds pretty accurate. The game looks like really good. It looks like the arcade games. And same thing with Zaxxon and all the other games I've covered, like Centipede, Defender, Galaxian, Pac-Man Collection, Zaxxon. All of them are very high quality games. There's not really a bad port to the ColecoVision I can think of. They're just all really solid. So, yeah, I'd say if you want to play arcade games that are accurate to the original versions, I'd say ColecoVision is pretty good to check out. You know, it's a nice system to go for. Now it's time for the Atari 8-bit. The Atari 8-bit is a unique specimen, if you want to be an idiot and say that. It uses the same hardware that some Atari arcade games used, I think, or like it uses the same sound at least. And the 8-bit's also a very capable line of computers. And a lot of the arcade games for it, or arcade ports, are really good. Like, I'll say that Frogger on the Atari 8-bit is one of the best home ports of Frogger out there. Like, it's stunning. And you play the disc version of it. The disc version has like all the songs. It has all the music. It has like the whole soundtrack on there. So I'd say if you're gonna play any version of Frogger, play that one. That one's like the closest to the arcade version, besides like the Genesis version. I think Donkey Kong's really good on the 8-bit as well. I think it's really solid there. It's very hard. It's way harder than any other port, I think, but it's really accurate, I think, to the arcade game. It has all the levels. It has nice graphics. It has good sound. You know, it's an impressive port. Dig Dug kind of suffered a bit on the 8-bit. Not really a fan of it, but you know, it's still playable. Still looks fine. Asteroids is cool because it has 4 players. That's kind of awesome. So if you want to have 4-player Asteroids, there you go. You can have 4-player Asteroids. And Kicks, I don't know if I played Kicks, but I want to mention it because Kicks is a game that hasn't got too many ports to consoles. But Kicks did get an 8-bit port. And I think I did play it once. I think it was fine. But yeah, not really much to say there. But next up on the list is the good old I have to get my list again. The Commodore 64. Oh yes, I'm gonna love talking about this. The C64 has, I know actually a lot about the hardware. I know about the SID chip, of course. The SID chip for sound effects and music was truly phenomenal. Like one of the best sound chips out there at the time. You know, 3 channels, but they're all programmable, and you all have different waveforms and combined waveforms and filtering, and you could have samples as well. So, yeah, it had the 4 waves: square, triangle, sawtooth, and noise. So, a really good sound for the time. A lot of games didn't really use it to its advantage. There were some good ports to the Commodore. The homebrew version of Donkey Kong Jr. because it was never released as a game originally. But there was a homebrew of Donkey Kong Jr., and that is it's more close to the NES version than the arcade version, but it's really really solid. I think like the graphics look, you know, beautiful for a Commodore game. It sounds really nice, and it plays really well. It plays like the NES version or arcade version. So that's, check it out. I'll link that too. It's a great port. I want to mention Gorf, because that's one I haven't actually. We haven't actually mentioned Gorf before. Gorf is a strange arcade game. It's kind of like I kind of see it as being like the Polybius, like the actual real Polybius, even though it's not called Polybius. Because it has all the different stages, it has different mechanics for each stage. It's very weird, it's very flashy. It has, like, the game talks. It's a weird game. And the Commodore version of the game is the first version I played. And, I remember playing it, I was like, wow, this is actually an awesome game. How come I didn't play it before? And, yeah, I think the Commodore version is really serviceable. I don't think it's as good as the arcade version. It's not as, like, crazy. It doesn't have the voice, I don't think. Actually, yeah, it does not have the voice. But, still pretty fun. I think it's missing the Galaxian stages, though, which is kind of a shame. That's probably just because of licensing. They didn't want to piss off Namco or Midway. Moon Patrol is a bit of a famous one on the Commodore as a really good port. Moon Patrol is a game that we haven't talked about before yet, actually. Moon Patrol is one that I really enjoy. Bit of a personal story. I used to play a game on the old computer, like on Windows 2000, called it was called Moon Buggy, which was a straight ripoff of Moon Patrol. But Moon Buggy was insanely hard, but had an awesome soundtrack, and I always played it because it was fun. But yeah, really, really, really hard game. But yeah, that's what Moon Buggy was based off Moon Patrol, and Moon Patrol was also a fun game too. Basically, like a little moon buggy on the moon, and you gotta shoot things. You can shoot up and right at the same time. You gotta jump over rocks and pits, and it's fun. And the Commodore version got a good port, I think. Has the music as well, and the game looks nice. It's pretty solid. Pac-Man on the Commodore 64 is one that I've always enjoyed. It's not the best version of Pac-Man, but it's a pretty solid one. It's very similar to the Atari 8-bit version, but I think it's a nice version of Pac-Man. Popeye is one that kind of suffered a bit on the Commodore. I do like this game a lot in the arcade. It's one of my favorites, but this version kind of suffered because Brutus doesn't have any in-between animations, so you can't tell when he's going to do his different attacks. So that kind of ruins it for me. But it's nowhere near as bad as our last game. The last port is truly horrid because it actually has some attachment to me. Because Robotron 2084, I mentioned before, is my all-time favorite arcade game. And the Commodore version is just... It's so sad. It's so sad. The sound just sounds... It sounds so depressing. And the game runs just like a... Well... It doesn't even run. It's just... It's super slow and doesn't control very well. Kind of looks bad and sounds atrocious. It's just a bad version. Don't bother with it. It's just bad. If you want to play Robotron, play the Atari 7800 version. That one's good. Or the 8-bit version. That one's fine. Okay. Time for actually, we already got our final system, but this one has the most games, I think. Or some games. I don't know what I'm saying. There's a lot of games to talk about it, and I could go more in depth on these. For the NES, first of all is Burger Time, which I have not talked about before. Burger Time is one that I have a bit of a story with. I used to actually love this game, but then I played it again a while back, and I was like, this game is not that great. It's still fine, but just It was one of those games like I always was obsessed about when I was really young. But when I play it again, and when I'm more critical about it now, it's like I can see that there's a lot of flaws. Like the controls aren't very good, and sometimes you won't just go up the ladder when you're supposed to, and the enemies are just like the AI is just insanely hard to get past. I wish there was like a difficulty option or something, but there was not. So yeah, not a very good port, I don't think, Burger Time, but it's still fun enough. Actually, I think it is fine. It's just that it's very hard. Donkey Kong on the NES is one that I'm not really a big fan of because it's missing one of the levels. I know it's a common complaint, but it really does bother me. They could have done it. I know they could. There's no reason they couldn't have the Pie Factory stage, but they just did not include it for whatever reason. But I know they could because other versions had it and they did not include it because they're just stupid. I don't know. It still bothers me. Not really, but it's just really dumb how they didn't include it. Donkey Kong Jr. is way better. It actually has all 4 stages. Doesn't have all the songs from the game. Neither did Donkey Kong, but I think Junior is a way better game on the NES. It's actually complete, and it's really fun and good, accurate to your arcade game. Galaga is a port of the MSX version of Galaga, so that was ported to the NES. I talked about it in my Galaga video, again, like the Atari version. So yeah, Galaga on the NES is just an MSX port, but it's still a good one. It's closest to your arcade game out of any of them, so I'd say Galaga's worth a shot. Gyrus on the NES is not really a port. I mean, it kind of is, but it's more like its own game. It's like has like its own, you know, different levels and challenges and stuff. But it's a lot of fun. It has like different songs too. Soundtrack to Gyrus is actually really good on NES. Check it out sometime. Yeah, that's a good game. Really good game. Mario Brothers is interesting because Mario Brothers actually has like a European re-release on the NES, like Mario Brothers Classic Edition or something like that. The European version of Mario Brothers on NES is way more accurate to the arcade game, and we did not get that version because it was just like I said, Europe exclusive. But we did get a pretty decent version of Mario Brothers. Um, it's not perfect, but it's fun. It's playable. Has all the stages, all the enemies, all the musical cues. Not all the musical cues, I don't think. It doesn't have doesn't have everything to it, but it's a good version. Millipede is very similar to Centipede, and it's one that I've always enjoyed. Millipede is it's nuts. It's insane, but it's a lot of fun. And it was developed by HAL. HAL Laboratory made the port, and I think it's a good port of the game. Really good port. So even though it's not even though I can't have Centipede, I can at least have Millipede on the NES. Miss Pac-Man also has 2 ports to the NES, one by Tengen, one by Namco. Namco version is fine, serviceable, but Tengen version is really, really, really good because it has the same options as the Genesis version and SNES version, I think, as well. So you can customize your whole game. You can have like a new Miss Pac-Man experience every time you play, and it's just really. It's just really cool that they had all that stuff there. They didn't need to do that, but they just put it in there anyway, and that's awesome. And we have Xevious for NES. Xevious is it's fun. The 800 version is better. NES version is kind of like it was kind of paper, the background, out of construction paper. It's just it's not the best, but it's fine. Okay, as it turns out, apparently I still had the same chat box from the other stream that failed. So I actually missed out on the chat. Oh no 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 no. Okay, it's fine. Okay, that's better. So okay. I'm sorry I didn't get to see the chat, but I can see it now. Xavier Zumalt, not Zumalt shot my dog. That's a real shame. I don't even know these people are still in the chat even. But my dad's up right now. I'm sorry, but there's gonna be some background noise. I apologize. Anyways, so that's actually it. That's all the games I want to talk about. I could go on for a bit longer, but I don't really know what else I'd say. I could talk about the other Famicom ports, like Bubble Bobble's really good. But that's not like an earlier kid game. That's like a later one. But Bubble Bobble's really good. Space Invaders is not very good on the Famicom. It's not that great. And Galaxian is on the Famicom, and that one's fine enough. Dig Dug's on there as well. Dig Dug is good, but not the same. The colors are a bit more dull, and it's not like it doesn't have the same blue sky, and a lot of those early Namco ports were just MSX ports. A lot of them. So Galaga, Galaxian, Dig Dug, Pac-Man, those were all just MSX ports. Oh yeah, and I think Tower Draga as well. So yeah, I could talk more about these, but I'm not gonna waste a bunch of time. There is, however, excuse me, I have one more surprise planned up my sleeve. And I think you guys will enjoy it. So I'm just gonna go here. Come on now. Alright. That robot toy. Wait, no, that's the wrong podcast. Now, what was I trying to open? Here we go. Alright, fellas. You're in for a real treat if you're sticking around. Because we got a tier list. That's right. Oh, crap. Hold on a second. Alright, here we go. Here's this big surprise. We have a Pac-Man tier list right now. So what we're doing for this one is that we're covering different versions of the same game, but seeing which one's better. So I had the versions listed actually. So we have, in order, we have the 2600 version, the 7800 version, the arcade version, the 5200 version, the Commodore version, the I think MSX or Coleco version. No, it's not MSX. That's ColecoVision. That's the homebrew port. Game Boy, Intellivision, Jack Specific, my boys. Uh, that's MSX. NES, PS1, and VIC-20. So we're gonna be doing a tier list, seeing where all these games belong. So, which version of Pac-Man will reign supreme? And I'll link this too if you want to try it out for yourself. But which version is best? So first of all, S tier is going to be the arcade version. No doubt about that. No surprise there. And F tier is going to be, of course, once again, Atari 2600. No surprise there. And I think also for S tier, I'll put up the Jack specific version because that one's just, it's not 100% accurate, but it has like the joystick and buttons, and it's pretty accurate to the arcade version. So I'd say that's also an S tier. I think that MSX is gonna be a bit of MSX and NES are gonna be B tier. They're good, but not that great. Intellivision will be like a B tier as well, I think, or a C tier. I don't know. I don't know. We'll put a C tier, just so everything has a tier. Every tier has a game at least. Game Boy is also gonna be C tier, I think, because it's you can't tell the colors of the ghosts because it's a Game Boy. So yeah, and it also has a scrolling screen, but it's not the worst. It's kind of just in the middle. ColecoVision is gonna be, I think, an A tier. No, that one's really good. Commodore will be a B tier. Atari 8-bit will be an A tier. 7800 will be an A tier. I think PS1 will be an A tier as well, and VIC-20 will be D tier because it's just it's not that great. So there you go. That's my tier list. That's where all the games I think should be ranked. So we have at S tier, arcade and Jack specific. A tier, MSX. That's ColecoVision. Never mind. ColecoVision, Atari 8-bit, 7800, PS1, B tier, MSX, NES, Commodore 64, C tier, Intellivision, Game Boy, D tier, VIC-20, and F tier, the Atari 2600. And I think that's it for the podcast. Kind of a messy one. Not really that great, but it's kind of my fault 'cause I just slept too late. But we at least got some chat activity, so that's good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's not that great, but I'll keep doing these and experimenting and trying to make them better. I'll do more notes for the next one. I'll actually write a script. I think not a script, but I'll do just more. I'll have bullet points covering what I want to talk about. So yeah, that's it for now. So I'll see you guys later.